Hey everybody, it's Jason from Intricate Concrete here at World Headquarters. Wanted to take a couple minutes and talk to you guys about something that we as concrete contractors use almost every day, and that is our different types of rebar here. So not endorsed by anybody or anything like that. I just wanted to give you guys a little real life experience. I've got three different types here. So I've got the Gator bar. This is what I would refer to as a fiberglass re-rod. I've got the Owens Corning pink stuff here. And I've got our traditional 3/8 steel re-rod. This is what we use most often. Now, so a few things to consider. We use the steel most often. It's been around the longest. It's traditional. I've torn out a ton of concrete that has steel re-rod in it. And a lot of people think, oh, the bigger the bar I go with, the better. Well, that might be the case where your concrete is thicker. However, in your standard driveway that's 4 inches thick or even 6 inches thick, it's been my experience that 3/8 bar is much harder to tear out than 1/2 inch bar or number 4 bar. And the reason for that, I feel, is you start prying on concrete and bending concrete with 3/8, it's thin and it bends and the concrete stays with it. You take that same 4-inch slab, you put a piece of 1/2 inch bar in there, you start bending it, and I've seen the concrete actually break away from the bar and it actually separates easier. So in my opinion, the 3/8 re-rod is really the best overall application in residential stuff like 4-inch thickness. The Gator bar, I personally have only used this in a table that we did. This is the newer Gator bar, where as you can see I can rub my thumb on it without a glove. I'm not getting any slivers, anything like that. For those of you that have used the Gator bar when it first came out, you know that you could not handle this stuff without gloves on. Your hand would be full of slivers. So this stuff does have some texture to it, as you can see the lines in it. It's got a pretty sharp seam in it, as you guys can see from that end. I've not used this stuff truthfully in any actual concrete other than a table. The steel re-rod, as you guys know, you've got like the seam line in it, and you've got these little ribs on there that help grip the concrete. This is the Owens Corning, the pink bar. This stuff is extremely smooth. As you can see, I'm not getting any slivers off that. Extremely smooth and glassy. I have not used that in any actual jobs, tables, or anything. Truthfully, this is the first piece of that stuff I bought. My concern with this is that it is so smooth and so glass-like that I don't see the concrete actually gripping it well. Not to say that it won't, but I've used a lot of steel epoxy coated rebar, and when I've torn that out of like 8-inch thick concrete curbs and things, the concrete breaks right off it like it's never even stuck to it. So I'm a little bit concerned that this fine finish would have the same effect. Out of the three, you can cut them all with a grinder, you can cut them all with a sawzall, you can cut them all with a diamond wheel and a cutoff saw, which is what we use mostly. You can see that on there. Obviously, the Gator bar and the Owens bar will not rust. You can see this piece of steel is rusting as is. I like the steel though for another reason. Like when we set wet pads in gravel or things like that where we need to pound a pin in, you can beat on this stuff with a hammer, pound it in, things like that. You start smashing on this stuff or this stuff with a hammer, you'll see how quickly you kind of shatter the end of it. The other big thing is, and you guys will see my video here, is that where we're at, crushing concrete and reselling it is big business. So you have a magnet, picks out all this steel. The steel obviously then can get reclaimed and sold. It's worth money. In talking to the guys at the concrete plant, one of the hardest things to pick out of the crush is wood and plastic, because they don't have a good way to separate that stuff. It's not magnetic, obviously. So you get into your Gator bar and your Owens Corning bar, and how do you separate that stuff? How do they crush it cleanly and separate it to resell? I don't know. I've posed that question to one of my local supply house managers, and he had no idea. He was actually going to talk to the Gator bar rep, and I had another conversation with him, and he did not still have an answer for me. All I can tell you guys is my personal experience. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer. I can only tell you about pouring concrete, and I can tell you about tearing concrete out. And in my experience, steel is still the strongest. It still sticks better when you tear it out and you try and bend it and move it around. I just overall think it's old reliable. Now, the steel rusts, obviously, it corrodes. The rust swells up with moisture in the concrete. Eventually it delaminates from the bar. We all know that. Anybody who's torn out concrete can tell you that. Will the fiberglass ever rust or decompose? Probably never in our lifetime. So, you know, you guys can draw from it what you will. I buy my re-rod in bunks by the ton. So my price is a little bit different than like going to your big box store and buying 2 or 3 pieces at a time, which I'll throw the prices on here so you guys can kind of see what everything costs at the big box store. But for my house, for my jobs, we're going to be sticking with steel. And I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Have you tried the Gator bar? Have you tried the Owens Corning? What do you like? What do you don't like? Why do you like it? Why do you not like it? Or do you like steel? Let me know. Stay tuned, everybody. So guys, I wanted to show you something quick. I'm here at the crush pile at our local concrete place where we get rid of all of our concrete. The trucks wash out when they're done. You can see the conveyor there. That entire pile you see there is all crushed concrete that was in this pile. The green dumpster that you see right over there, that's all full of steel that is sorted out magnetically through the crusher. It gets all the re-rod, mash pieces, pipe, anything like that that is metal in the concrete when it's crushed. And then all of that stuff there gets resold as crushed concrete for under driveways, under roads, things like that. So really something to think about with all the fiberglass re-rod, things like that, because I don't know how they're going to sort that out when it comes time to crush that stuff. We have not torn out any fiberglass re-rod concrete yet because the stuff is so new. However, I think that is definitely going to be a concern in the future. And talking to some of the guys that run the crushers here, they tell me one of the worst things to sort is wood because they have no way to sort it out. It's not magnetic, obviously, anything like that. So I think the same thing is going to apply to a lot of that fiberglass rod. So something to think about. I'll try and dig into it a little more in the future, but I just wanted to bring it up during this re-rod video. Thanks, guys.